Hey guys, how is it going? In today's episode of Cloud Engineering Projects, I will be setting up a GitHub pipeline using GitHub Actions to deploy our ongoing voting application to Azure Kubernetes service. At the end of this tutorial, you will learn from scratch how to create and configure a GitHub CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Actions. You will also learn the creation of AKS using the Azure CLI. And also, you will learn how to create the Azure Container Registry and how to connect all of these technologies together. If you have not seen the previous videos where I gave the architectural explanation of the voting application, kindly catch up with those for comprehensive understanding of what we are doing here. So, having said that, let's quickly get started. First thing first, I'll just cd into the folder where I want to use as the environment to do this deployment. Cd demo, cd deployment demo. So I have now cd into the deployment demo. So now I'll clone the project. So to clone the project, I'll just go to the official GitHub page of Cloud Engineering Projects, and then I'll click on example voting app. Then I'll drop down on this and copy the URL of the repository. So, and I'll do git clone. Then I'll paste the URL here. So I have cloned the app, and then now I will open the folder, i.e. I'll open the projects. So this is the project. It's opening up. So this is the project which contain different files and different folders that make up the example voting application. Right. So before this video, I have already prepared some scripts that we will be running. Basically, it's a set of commands to create AKS, to create Azure Container Registry, and to connect all of these technologies together. So I'll quickly just grab that now. But before copying the command, I want to create a new file inside the root of this application. So if I click on this example voting app, then I'll click on this new file. So I'll call the new file CICD demo.sh. So CICD demo.sh is a new file that I've just created, and then I'll copy the set of commands that I'm going to be running. So this is the command that we are going to be going through one after the other to set up our CI/CD GitHub action pipeline, right? So first thing first, we are going to be logging in with AZ login. So this command basically is to log into Azure. And then after that, I'm going to be creating a new resource group. So after creating that resource group, we are going to be creating our Azure Kubernetes service. And then we will create our Azure Container Registry. And then after creating the Azure Container Registry, we will link the AKS to the ACR. Basically, we want to grant the AKS access to the ACR. Then we also need to get the credentials of the AKS. So basically, this command here is what link our local environment, our local machine, to the Azure Kubernetes service. Okay. Then after we've done that, then we go to GitHub to create GitHub secrets. So when we've done that, then we will now define the CI/CD YAML file. Okay. So let's quickly get started. So I'll open new terminal here, and then I will run AZ login. I have already logged into my own AZ account before shooting this video. So in your case, you will need to run this AZ login and then go through the process of authentication. If you have MFA set up already, then you will also be taken through the MFA authentication phases. Then after that, we will create the resource group. Then I'll copy this, Ctrl+C, and then I'll paste it here. So when this is now created, so I'll go back to my Azure, and then I'll refresh, and then we have the resource group here. Clicking into the resource group, we do not have any resources created yet, right? So I'll go back into my VS Code, and then I'll copy this command to create the Azure Kubernetes service. So I'll do Ctrl+C, and then I'll come here, Ctrl+V. This is probably going to take between 1 and 5 minutes. So I'll pause this video and then continue when the AKS is successfully provisioned. Okay, so the AKS is now successfully provisioned. Now, then the next thing that I need to do would be to provision the ACR, right? So I'll paste the code here. So the ACR is also now deployed successfully. Then the next thing that we need to do is to now grant the AKS access to the ACR. Control C, I'll copy that code, and then I'll come here and then I'll paste that code. Before executing the command, before executing the code, let's quickly go back to our resource group to confirm if the two resources that we've just provisioned are in the resource group. So come here, click on this, then refresh this. Then we have the CI/CD AKS resource, and then we have the CI/CD container registry resource too. So come back here, and then I'll press enter. So the command that we're executing now is the command that will grant the AKS access to the ACR. So after the successful execution of this, then we will now get the AKS credentials. So that is now also successfully configured. Then I'll copy this command here to get the AKS credentials. So come here, and then I'll run that command. Now, this is saying that a different object named this already exists, right? This is because I have already gone through this process before shooting this video, and then I have that configuration already, right? So it's now asking if I want to overwrite this configuration. In your case, you probably will not see something like this. So I'll just press yes, and then I'll answer yes again. And as you can see, the AKS is now successfully matched to my kube/config local directory. Okay, cool. So the next thing that I want to do now is to create some secrets to connect GitHub to Azure, right? So I'll just go back to my GitHub account, GitHub. Now, on my GitHub account and inside of this example voting app, I'll click on settings, and then I'll scroll down to secrets and actions. Then I'll click on new repository secrets, okay? If I go back into our code, you see here that I say that we are going to be creating Azure credentials. We'll be creating ACR name, we'll be creating AKS name, and then the resource group name. Basically, we want to create an environment secret so that GitHub can use those environment secrets to connect to the Azure account and to the right resource, okay? So the first one that we will be creating will be ACR name. So the name of our ACR is this, right? CI/CD ACR demo. So I'll copy this, go back to GitHub, and then I'll choose ACR name. In your case, you probably will not see any list to choose from. The reason I saw those lists is because I've already done this before shooting this video. So I deleted that, and then I'm trying to do it again so that you can see the step-by-step process of doing this. So the ACR name, and then the secret will be CI/CD ACR demo. Then I will add the secret. So the secret is here, right? So I'll do the same for the remaining ones. AKS name. Then this is the AKS CI/CD-AKS cluster demo. Control C. And then come back here, new repository secrets, then cluster name, and then I'll paste the name of the cluster. Add secrets. I'll do the same for the resource group, which is the RGCICD demo, Control C. And then I'll come back to GitHub, new repository secrets, and then I'll choose resource group, and then I'll paste the name of the resource group here. Right? So I have done those. Then the next thing is to create Azure credential secrets. So how do we get the Azure credential secret? We get the Azure credential secret by running this code. So I'll just copy this code, Control C, and then I'll come here. Let me quickly just clear my screen, paste this to get the code. Right, so this is the code, okay? So I'll come here, I'll copy the code, right? Control C. Before I go to GitHub to paste this code, I want to paste the code to Notepad so that Notepad can automatically remove any unnecessary white space for me. So open Notepad, paste it here, and then copy it. Control C, go to GitHub, new repository secrets, and then Azure credentials, and then I'll paste the secret here, add. So that's everything that we need to set up on GitHub. I'll now go back to my VS Code. Now, inside my VS Code, we've done this, we've done this, we've done all of this, right? The next thing is to define the CI/CD YAML file, okay? Again, before making this video, I have already defined the CI/CD YAML file. So I'll just be copying and pasting the CI/CD YAML file and then walking you through it. So to create the GitHub Action YAML file, compulsorily that file must be created inside the .github folder. So I'll drop down on the .github folder and inside of the workflows, okay? So I'll drop down on the workflows and then I'll click on new file. So I'll call the new file CI/CD-demo.yaml, right? So I'm a bit too fast there. I'll just remove this hash. Okay, so this is the file, and I'll just copy the code and paste it here. Okay, so this is the code, and I'll quickly walk you through the code. So basically, what the code is doing is that I want to trigger these workflows, right, whenever there is a pull request merge onto the main branch. Okay, so anytime anybody committed a code to maybe dev branch or another branch entirely, and then they've created a pull request to match that update to the main branch, and whenever the pull request is accepted and matched to the main branch, then this code here will be triggered, right? And these are the secrets that we've set. We've set the ACR name, we've set the resource group, and then we've set the cluster name. So if I scroll down here, you will also see where I am using the Azure credentials, okay? So the jobs that basically we want to run is the build and push job, which is essentially the CI part of the CI/CD. And then if I scroll down, you will see the deploy to AKS, which is essentially the CD part of the CI/CD. So basically, it is continuous integration and continuous delivery. So the integration, the continuous integration in this case is to build and push the images to Azure Container Registry. So firstly, we will need to log into Azure, right? And then we are relying on GitHub login technology to use the Azure credentials that we've generated to log into Azure. And then we log into ACR using this command, okay? So after we've done those authentication, then we will build and push the vote Docker image, and then we will also build and push the results Docker image, right? So after we've built and pushed these two, then we will deploy our application to the AKS, okay? We deploy the application to AKS here, right? So what these steps means is that we provision a Linux virtual machine. So basically, GitHub automatically provisions a virtual machine, which is popularly known as agents. It deploys this virtual machine for us, and then after that, it checks out the code, logs into Azure using this Azure credential. Then it gets the AKS credential. Now, this is a very important step, right? Because if you remember my explanation, I said this code, right, gets the credential of the Azure Kubernetes service and map it to the local directory of the machine that you are using to run the deployment. Now, because GitHub provisions a virtual machine for us, right, a Linux virtual machine, Ubuntu to be precise, for us, then we will need to map the credential of the AKS to the local machine, just as we did to my own local machine when I was explaining this line of code. Okay, so this line of code does that for us, and then it eventually gets to this deploy to AKS section, and then it runs this code, which is kube control apply -fk8 specification. So this one here is the folder that you can see here, right? So if I drop down on this folder, right, it goes into this folder, this command goes into this folder and then deploys everything here, okay, into our AKS, right? So what I'm going to do now is that these two files, I will commit them, and then I will push the two files to the dev branch. Okay, so come here, and then I will say git, let me just do git status, and then git add. I'll copy this, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, then I'll do git add again. I don't want to do git add all, just want to do it one after the other. So git add, I've now added these two files. So if I do git status again, and then you can see that we have the two files colored green, right? So I'll now add these two files. I'll commit these two files, git commit dash m, and then I'll give it CI/CD demo deployments. Okay. So the next thing will be to push these two files onto the dev branch. So I'll check out the dev branch, git checkout dash b dev. So I have now checked out on the dev branch. So if I do git branch, and then you'll be able to see that I am on the dev branch, right? So I will now push this code to the dev branch. So I'll do git push origin dev. Right. So this code now has been pushed to the dev branch. So if I go back into GitHub, then into this example voting app, drop down on this, and then on the dev branch, then you can see that it's saying that this branch is one commit ahead of this project. Okay, so this is the official project that I forked into my own GitHub account. So very quickly, let's confirm our GitHub action to see if anything is running yet. So if I click on these actions, you can see that there is no workflows running at all. This is because of the command that we've specified inside our CI/CD demo.yaml file. So there is only going to be a workflow running if and only if we've created a pull request and that pull request has been successfully merged to the main. Okay, so let's quickly create a pull request now. If I go on to pull request and then new pull requests, then I want to create a pull request to pull from dev of my project to the main of my project. Okay, so I'll click on, okay, before I click on pull request, we can now see that these two are the files that we've just committed into, that we've just pushed into GitHub, right? So I'll just click on create pull request. So I'll copy this, Ctrl C, and then I'll add the same to the description, and then I'll click on create pull request. So I've now created that pull request, and as you can see here, we now have our pull request to be, the count of our pull request to be 1. So I'll quickly just merge that pull request, and then I'll confirm merge. So I have now merged that pull request, and then I'll click on actions. Automatically, there is a new workflow running. So if I click on this workflow, then I click on this, you can see that it's now executing all the steps that we've specified inside our YAML file. And then we've got an error here saying there's no subscription, right? Cool. There are a few reasons why this error is coming up. One of the reasons is that, let me quickly go back to, let me minimize this. Now, one of the reasons is, let me open this. When we create this Azure credential, right, named GitHub Actions AKS, okay, a new service principal is deployed for us in Azure, right? And I'll show you that. So if I click into this, and then I go to homepage, enter ID, and then I open on app registrations, all apps, then you can see the service principal here, right? So first thing that we want to confirm is that our service principal has the right role to deploy to Azure, right? So this is the service principal that GitHub is using to connect to Azure, right, under the hood. So I'll just quickly come here and run this command. Let me clear my screen. to add the contributor role to the service principal. Let me just quickly copy and paste this command here. I'll just paste this command here. And then I will say add contributor role to the service principal. Right? So this command now, I will run it here. So we've now added that role to the service principal. If you are seeing this, don't worry too much about it. Before posting this video, I would have deleted the service principal. Okay? So that's completely fine if you are seeing these credentials here. Right. So the next thing that we need to do will be to quickly go and rerun our pipeline. So if I scroll up here, I'll click on rerun and then rerun all jobs, then rerun. It's now queued. If I click into it, it's now running. It still failed. But it failed now with different error. Okay? So what we need to do now will be to quickly rerun this command. Sometimes it just the behavior is just so flaky. So I'll rerun this command to regenerate that credential for us. So the credential is now regenerated. I'll copy it, Ctrl+C. I'll delete this one and then I'll paste this one here. And I will copy this, go back to GitHub, settings, and then I'll go to secrets and variables, actions, and then our Azure credentials. I'll drop down on Azure credentials and then I will update it, right? So update secrets. The secret is now updated. Then I'll go back to GitHub, click on actions, and then rerun this workflow. The workflow is running. Let's click into it. Yep. Everything is now going as it should. So I deliberately did not cut out this part of debugging this problem because I want to give you a hang of what you are likely to face when you're setting up your CI/CD environment. So this is one of it. If you are faced with any error, just read the error and try to understand it, and you'll definitely be fine setting up your CI/CD environment. So it's now, and as you can see, we now have a completed job, right? So if I scroll back up here, you see, build and push Docker is now completed, right? So the CI part of this workflow is now done. So if I click into this, right, it's now doing the deployment, right? So this is going, we've now logged into Azure successfully here. We've gotten the AKS credentials. We're now deploying to the AKS here, right? So here, it's now post log into Azure, and then the job is now completed successfully, right? So if I go back into Azure homepage, and then I click on resource groups, I click on these resource groups, and then I click on this Kubernetes cluster, click on workloads, then you see our workloads here, which is our DB, the Redis, result, votes, and worker, right? We see everything here. If I click on services and ingress, you see, we have our services here also. Right, awesome. Now, how do we see our application, right? If you look at the type of this service, right, you will see that this is a node port type of service. Okay. So for us to view our application, we will need to change this node port to a load balancer, right? So that we will have an external IP address that we can navigate to see our application. Okay. So if I go back to my VS Code, so inside my VS Code, I will go into the K8 specifications folder, and then I will open the vote and the result service, right? So result service now, first, you can see here that the type of the result service is a node port. So I'll change this to load balancer. I'll copy this load balancer. I'll go to vote service also. I'll change this also to a load balancer. Okay. Then I will come here. Let me clear my screen. Come here, and then I am going to, I'll now push this new update to GitHub, right? So let me do git status. Then you can see that we've got these three, right? Okay, awesome. So I will do git add, and then I will add this, Control C, Control V. Then I will add this also. So I have now added that file. Then what I'll do next is I will quickly clear my screen. So having cleared my screen, then I want to push that. No, I want to quickly commit it. Git commit -m, then added a load balancer. Okay, then I want to push that code. Git push origin dev. So I've now pushed that code to the dev. I want to clear my screen again, and then go to GitHub. GitHub, inside, I'll go to code, and now on this dev, you will see that I have now got 2 commits ahead, right? So I'll create a new pull request. Come here, new pull request, and then I want to merge from dev to main of my repository, and then you can see the 2 files that we've just updated from node port to load balancer, this and this. Okay, so I want to create a pull request, copy this, Control C, and then put this here also, and then create a pull request. So having created that pull request, right, if I go back to my action, you will see that I do not have any workflow running. This is the successfully deployed workflow. So if I come back to the pull request, and then click onto the pull request, and I'll merge that pull request and confirm the merge. So I have now merged that pull request. I'll go back to actions, and then we have added load balancer, which is a new workflow. So if I click into that now, and then I click into this, then we're expecting it to successfully run. This runs is not coming from my local machine. It is instead coming from the agent, which is the virtual machine that is created for us by GitHub to run these workflows, right? So the first part of the workflow is now completed. Then if I click into this, you see the second part has now started, which is the deployment. So it's logging into Azure here. So when this login is completed, yep, it's now logging. Then it's getting the AKS credentials, and it's now deploying the updates. It has now failed. Process completed with exit code. Load balancer. Oh, we've made an error in our code. So I unfortunately cannot spell load balancer. So this is load balancer. So it should be load balancer. So I'll copy this, Control C, and then go back to my VS Code, and then change it from load balancer to load balancer. So I'll come here, vote service, load balancer, Control C, and then I'll come to this result service, and then I'll change it to load balancer. Let me do git status. Then I'll do git add. Then I'll add this. Then git add, Control C, and then I'll add this. Then I'll commit it. I'll call the commit message fixed load balancer name error. So I'll push that to git push origin dev, push it to dev. Then I'll create a new pull request and then match that pull request. Pull request, new pull request. I want to create a pull request from dev to main, to the main of my repo. And then I have now changed it from load balancer to load balancer. So I'll create this PR and then click on create. And then very quickly, I'll just click on merge pull request and confirm merge. Okay, then I'll go to GitHub Actions and give it time to run this update. If I click into this, so that is now complete. The deployment is now starting. After that, if you check the code out, you will log into, so it's logging into Azure. It's now getting the AKS credentials and then getting deploying the AKS. And then this is the post checkout code. And now the job is now done. So let's quickly go back to Azure. On Azure now, if I refresh, then I should see external IP address beside the result and the vote app. So if I click on this one, then you can see our vote application. Yeah. And then if I go back to Azure here and then I click on this, then you can see that here, let me just drag this then you can see that we do not have any votes yet, right? And if I come back to here, I can vote for dogs. And if I go back to the result, you can see that vote now has 100%, and then we have one vote. Okay, so guys, this is how to create a CI/CD from scratch using GitHub Action. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel.